I think we all can agree that looting was definitely a great addition to Star Citizen. I love that players are exploring and looking for interesting stuff around the universe. For 3.17, loot is going to be much more exciting and valuable for all the players. Up until right now, players got the same loot in different locations, so you could go to Korea or a cave or an outpost and potentially have the same content. For 3.17 though, we are changing that, and now we are tailoring the content for each location. The other addition, because up until right now, all the content was considered common content that you could even buy in shops. We are now adding the concept of rarity. We have 3 different types of rarity, so it's the common one, the uncommon one, and rare one. The uncommon one is going to be items that are not available in the shops anymore. For example, security armor or pirate armor, it's content that it's specific for a group of people. In order to make rarity a viable option, it was always the intent to remove some of the items from the shops. And the rare items definitely are the ones that are going to be more exciting for everyone, for sure. Don't expect to have a high percentage of spawning. We are very keen into spawn only a little bit of them, but rare items, we are applying more or less the same philosophy with ships. So eventually rare items will end up in the loot pool and can be found in different lootable crates.
Obviously, with looting becoming such a big feature in the game, we kind of need an ability for you to sell the loot that you've been acquiring this whole time. To do that, we're going to be updating the shop system and item shops with a brand new kiosk that will have a much improved user experience that will allow you to sell your various items. So for 3.17, the system determining what can be sold where and for how much is going to be very simple. Basically, if a shop sells an item of a certain type, they sell guns, they sell ship parts, you can then sell to that shop items of that type. The pricing will be as follows. It will start at 90% of the price that the shop sells it for, and depending on their current inventory, it will fall down to 50%, with 50% being that they are absolutely full on that item. If they do not have that exact item in their inventory, you will default down to 50% because, frankly, they don't really want to stock that thing anyways. Rarity, of course, will come into play for this, but basically the base prices of items will help to determine how much they sell for. There has been a small pass to just kind of update some of these prices to fall within line of the fact that certain items now can't be found in stores, and certain items are going to be very difficult to find in the boxes throughout the world. And of course, the Pico Balls will be the most valuable item in all of the persistent universe. One of the features that we're really happy that we included in this is when you are selling something with attachments, you can, on the spot, go through and detach those attachments in the selling interface so that they don't get sold. Let's say that you're trying to sell a sniper rifle and you have a really nice scope on it. You will see that when you go to make that transaction and be able to say, oh, actually, I want to keep that. One problem that we are aware of in all interfaces that deal with items of this type is stacking. The stacking system in personal inventory and in now this shop screen, which uses the same stacking method, means that it can be a little annoying to move large quantities of the same item. We don't have an immediate perfect solution for that where we can stack items that are identical, but in the short term we did a little solution where there's just a quick sell button on each item in the list. Fair warning to all of you, there is no buyback button at this time, so if you sell something, it is gone. Be careful. And of course, with inventory, where we want it to go in the future, we want it to be that as you are selling these items, it is affecting the inventory of the store so that it is becoming more and more that other players can then purchase. We're not clear as the time of this recording if that's going to make it for 3.17, but that is definitely a goal going forward. We're going to be monitoring both how you guys are using this new kiosk and how many things you're selling in order to help balance both the amount of loot and how much each piece of loot sells for. We also are very interested in any feedback that comes in for the user experience of that selling, so please let us know how things are going. We are listening, and this is going to be something that we're going to be very interested in making a better and better experience as time goes on.
The advancements in loot generation and implementation of selling are two key aspects of any MMO, and their arrival in Star Citizen heralds a continuing push to reward players for venturing out into that dangerous unknown to seek their fortunes. And because the unknown can be so hazardous, let's take a look now at the current state of medical gameplay, what's being adjusted for Alpha 3.17, and what's on the horizon after that.
So the response to healing was quite heartening.
There was some really good community engagement around the feature. I remember at one stage on Reddit, I think it was even before the feature was released, someone had posted a survival guide, and it was just really cool to see how excited people were about the feature.
It's a really expansive system, so there's lots of different parts, and it was a lot to sort of get everything working.
It was great to see that people were happy and excited about various aspects of the healing.
The medical bed UI in particular, which is the main thing I worked on, has a lot of depth to it in terms of adding to the feeling that it's a real hospital and a real place, and you can do sort of, you're really healing yourself.
I really enjoy the fact that there is some consequence to death now, that there's a sense of continuity. I don't just die and magically respawn somewhere. You know, my corpse is something I now have to go and find if I've put something important on it. What we worked on is a T0 implementation, so it's bare bones. There's so much more to do. There are a few things we've fixed since then that should be coming out in 3.17. We've had feedback saying that bleed is too harsh, and absolutely we've addressed that. It was unfortunately an oversight on our part, and we've reduced the severity of bleeding, so you won't start bleeding then, you know, keel over 2 seconds later. Instant death, we never want to have someone fall over and die immediately from a single pistol shot to the head, or, you know, the foot. We've covered a couple of issues that were causing that, so 3.17 we should see that removed entirely. We've also had feedback regarding sort of hunger thirst, and also the status system in general, just not persisting between play sessions.
So yeah, now between logins, most of your stats will persist, your health, your injuries, your hunger and thirst, so we'll see that gameplay back in the PU properly.
We've also had some feedback regarding the crime stats. This was one that I hadn't encountered, but sort of face-palmed when I saw it. If you ram your own corpse with a ship, you get a crime rating for it, and that's not obviously great. It's sort of an extra kick to your dignity. But thankfully, the Mission Feature Team guys have really drilled into that and fixed it. So 3.17, that humiliation should be removed, thankfully.
For the injuries not being seen enough, we've also added a bit of probability into it.
If you jump off a tree, there's every chance you're going to snap every bone in your body, or you're going to land like a cat. So we've introduced a little bit of a random element that doesn't scale linearly to try and achieve that. And it's really worked out, I think, quite well. We're seeing injuries more often, and it's not always at a gamified value that you reach. Beyond 3.17, there are other things we want to get into. We want to make improvements. Body dragging, for example, we know that's not exactly great right now. If you want to drag someone into an elevator, it can be a bit hit or miss. We're definitely looking to improve that. Some people just don't care about injuries because they just mash the die button and then respawn in their ship, and then haha, they move on. That won't be possible moving forward once we get some really big changes in. And again, this is quite a ways away. But things like permadeath, DNA degradation, being charged to respawn, the idea of your character dying forever and having to spawn next to kin, those are all things we're fairly confident that are going to be coming in at some point in the distant future. The manner in which they come in, we've got an idea of how they're going to be developed and also how they're going to function. We have had lots of other feedback that I haven't covered so far, and the reason I've not addressed is because we don't yet have a solid idea of how we're going to address that, and we don't want to make any promises that we're not going to fulfill.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that loot is expanding into both rarity and variation beginning with Alpha 3.17 and beyond. that when combined with selling, a loop emerges to make your living as a potential treasure hunter. And that medical gameplay continues to evolve with your feedback and testing, and there's plenty more yet still to come. Now remember that Stella Fortuna is upon us, and there are some really nice vehicle paints that you can learn more about on the robertsspaceindustries.com website. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckaby. We'll see you all next week.